so much. I think you can give me a better clap. I mean, I drove 600 Ks to be here. I deserve something better than that, right? I appreciate that. I believe I'm quite audible enough for you to hear me from the back as well. So my name is Admire, and let's just get one thing straight. Today is not about me, but it's about Nigel, right? So just tell the person next to you, look at the person sitting next to you, just look at them, say today, it's about Nigel. Okay, look at the one that you don't like the same way you like the other one, because you chose one, right? So just look at the other one. Look at them. Okay, say the way I respond. No, you gotta say it with liveliness. This is an auspicious event. It's not a funeral, people. We have to be excited about this one. So say the way I respond has everything to do with what I will remember. Do you get the meaning of what you just said? Okay, just say it in one line. The way I respond has everything to do with how and with what I will remember. Just say that one more time. Exactly. That means you did not even pay attention to what you were saying. So that's what I just wanted you to see. It's normal, but it's a choice you make. It's a choice you make to decide what you want to take into your skull and what you don't want to get in there. Because, I mean, that's where your brain is, right? So one of the most important things I want to talk about this afternoon is the fact that in every situation that you get in every circumstance that you might be stuck in, there's always a way out, which is why the title of the book is Life is All About Success. I can give you a practical example. Right now, there could have been glitches here and there that could have caused this event to not go on. But we chose not to stumble on them. We chose not to hold strongly onto those particular points. And we said, you know what? We're going to do this. Whether the devil likes it or not, we're here. And look, the event is going. Just clap hands for yourself for just allowing us to be here. I know. And thank you for that. There's a lot of misunderstandings and misconceptions that people have when it comes to what needs to be done, how should it be done, and why should it be done. So if you don't understand those things, you cannot talk about success, because you need to understand what is it that I'm calling success. So if I've never been inside a car that was being driven by a family member from my family, success could actually be me driving a vehicle. But there is somebody who got a passport the day they were born and they were on a flight the very same day. So if I put that person here and I put myself here and I try to compare those two, then that means I don't understand what is the purpose of my life. It's not there for me to compare these two people, because the parents of these two children totally are different. They went to different schools. So one thing I want us to get straight is the fact that what you're going to be is not about the person next to you, what are they doing or so forth. It's about what do you want. So just tell the person next to you, say, what do you want? Okay, do you know what you want? No. Now I'm asking you, do you know what you want? Because now, if you know what you want, you need to know what is it that I need to do to get that. And that is the most important part as well. So a lot of people get lost in translation of trying to understand what is it that we want to achieve. So my focus today is not about anything else, but it is about trying to make sure that is what you call success really what success is for you? Think about it for a second. Your definition of success, is it really what success needs to mean in your life? Small dreams matter too, right? How many people want to drive a Lamborghini? But do you have a bicycle currently? The one that you bought with your own money? So what I'm trying to say now is, it's not bad to think about yourself and picture yourself inside a Lamborghini. That's perfect. But just be smart and understand that a Lamborghini costs more than a bicycle. So if you understand how to make money and be able to buy a bicycle, you will stand a greater chance to also raise enough money to buy a Lamborghini. There's a law of money that says the same way you make 1 rand is the same way you make 1 million. It's just a multiplication process. So if you sell a product and you get 10 rand, for instance, if I sell this book and I get 100 rand, the same method I use to sell them can even be applied, and I can still sell 1,000 of the same books in the same day. It's possible. but it's about the mindset. It's about what do I want to achieve at the end of the day. So why am I saying define your own success in the right way? It's because if you come to a person and you ask for help, which is what a lot of people who are in here do, we go to people that we look at as mentors, as spiritual leaders, whatever the case might be, and we want them to assist us to channel our life in a direction that can push ourselves to success, right? If I'm speaking sense, agree with me. Am I right? Great. So we go to these people and we want them to help us. But we have not defined and we have not understood what is it that we want help with. I mean, who agrees with me that it's boring when you go to ask for help from someone and they say do it yourself? It's boring, right? I see a hand and that guy agrees with me and I know how it feels. And trust me, everybody who texts me, who calls me and asks me for an advice and says, can you help me with this? Even if it's writing a recommendation, I always give this response, send me your draft. Because the problem is you want your mentor to do your job. Because there's no point of me correcting something if you don't have anything on the ground. So some people that you look up to and you say they're not there to help you, it's not that they don't want to help you, but they don't want to do your dirty work. Start somewhere. You have to come up with a certain concept and we look at the concept and say, okay, great, you came to me, fine, let's look at this. I think you're going to need to fix A, B, and C. But I'm not going to go and start from scratch. So as I'm speaking to you, ask yourself, have I really defined what success is for me? And how do you measure that you've defined success properly for yourself? And the funny thing is what I'm talking about is not for a high school child alone. Even Nigel's father could actually relate to this situation. Maybe he has gotten to a point where he actually hasn't really figured out what is success for him. You know what I'm saying? So it's important that you really understand what is your definition of success, because you'll never get sense out of a book titled Life is All About Success when you don't understand success. I'm not talking about the standard definition of success from Google or Wikipedia. I'm talking about success in relation with your life. We come from different backgrounds and that is what we need to focus on. So you might buy a copy of this book, but if you don't understand what the words of the title mean, then it's going to be useless to you because you are reading it for the sake of just finishing the whole book or maybe for the sake of supporting. And I can guarantee you there are people who are here to buy the book not because they really want to grow, but they just have that mindset, it's Nigel. But I want to challenge you now and say, you know what? Small dreams matter too, and they say dynamite comes in, and you know that, right? So he might be short. I mean, we've got a guy who's really tall here. So if you compare the two, it's really going to make you feel like Nigel is short. But in as much as he's short, he could actually be a greater person. Actually, let me not say he is. That guy hasn't published a book, and he's not 19. So that already puts a difference. That guy can actually learn from Nigel. So I just want you to take your mindset away a little bit from the fact that you know Nigel as Nigel. And think about it as if you're reading a book that you just found and you don't know who the author is. Try and make sense of the words that are in that book. And then I believe you might be able to understand a couple of nuggets that can actually help you channel into your success direction. There's something that I just want to read. It's one line and I quote on page 10. It says, if you could not make it, there are always corrections. Does it make sense? Why am I saying this? Earlier on, I overheard somebody saying, because of time constraints, this is a failure, and you know what? I say to this person, just because this is the first time this is happening, give that person the benefit of the doubt and know that they can do better tomorrow. Where is he going to learn from if we don't give him the room to learn? That's the same with you. There are a lot of things you failed in your life. There are a lot of obstacles that you faced. And trust me, if all of us didn't want to apply corrections in our lives, hey, we wouldn't be here today. Trust me, we wouldn't. Every motivational speaker, every author, every person of influence that inspires you, that you see, they've gone beyond what you think they've gone through. There are things that we don't talk about on social media that we go through that really could actually have brought us down. There are points where if I start sharing some of these things with you, you wouldn't understand. But my focus is on trying to just make you understand what does it take for you to get to a point where you can say life is all about success. Yes, it's the book title, but it's just more than a book title. For somebody to think about a title for a book, you need to understand the fact that there is thorough research that is done. You don't just name a book like you're naming a pet. I mean, people even go on the internet to look for names for pets. So you need to understand that naming a book is more like a prophecy in somebody's life. So if you believe that your life is going to be all about success and you properly define what success is for you, why won't you make it? Ask yourself that. So it's all about challenging yourself. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong if from that corner to that corner we all write books. But you need to know that not everybody is meant to write a book. Just because he did it doesn't mean it's easy. I mean, when I published my first book, I met people who all of the time when they meet me, they're asking me questions in line with publishing books. And I asked myself, why has it become like a norm now that people want to write books because I did write mine? And you know what? I can guarantee you I've got more than 10 of the same people who asked me. It's 3 years down the line after I published my first one that still haven't done even a paragraph. But that doesn't mean they don't have a purpose. So it's about you finding your purpose, because we are all called to be on this planet for a particular reason. And what you need to understand is maybe what I'm talking about now, or what Zainab spoke about, or what Nigel is going to speak about, or what you're going to read from the book. If it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't mean that's the end of the world. The fact that you hear means that there is somebody that needs to be inspired by that. Think about this. You walk out of this room and you meet somebody and they say to you, what did you pick up from the event? And you say nothing. How would you feel? It's a very tough call, trust me. Because that means you don't value your time enough to know that this is for me or this is not for me. So if something is not for you, take it and give it to the next person. You have become a beacon of hope for that person. Maybe that person didn't have the courage to come here, but you had. And maybe your duty is to just carry the message to the next person and say, hey, life is all about success, but understand what is success to you. Does it make sense? Does it really make sense? Okay, I'm hearing like a low haze. People are hungry or something. Okay, the volume's kind of increased, but it's all right. We'll get there because I know there are people who came for food. It's okay. It's still fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And food, you're still going to have it. But I just want you to get this for now. All right? I just want you to get this for now. The fact that you're here for food doesn't mean that your mindset can be changed. Now, let's be realistic. There are people who got functions for food. Yeah, so you can laugh all you want, and there's some here who are here for other reasons that we might not know. But it's okay to be here for that particular reason. But the most important thing that I just want to ask you kindly is take something home. If it's not for you, it's for your mom. If you don't have a mother, it's fine. It's for your dad. If you don't have one too, look, you've got a colleague, you've got a neighbor. You always have somebody. There's nobody who's going to say, I'm alone. And if you don't have anyone, you can bring it back to me. I'll take it because I will learn from it as well. You understand? As I'm speaking here, I'm learning from you guys. I'm actually realizing that, you know what? Paying attention to other people is important. So what you need to know is there is a day where like I said, you have a purpose, right? So the particular purpose you are on the planet for, there's a day that you're going to need to showcase that in front of people. The same way you respond to me while I'm standing here is the same way people are going to respond to you. Which is why it is important to always understand what is your purpose. Because probably your purpose has got something to do in line with what we do. But if you don't pay attention to what we say and you look at it and you just say, look, nigga, you're taking time, I want to eat. It's okay. You want to eat, but you need to understand, why are you here to eat? What is the main reason why the food is here? It's to launch this book. By showing me to raise your hands, how many promise me that they're going to buy a copy? There's something I want to do real quick. You're going to buy copies, right? You're going to buy copies. Okay, that's great. I'll still remember. The thing that I want to do real quick is to get your money. Because we want that money, because for you to eat, you got to pay as well. You understand? Nobody goes to KFC and says, I'm here for the food without a wallet. Doesn't make sense. So in as much as you are listening to this, and I can guarantee you, maybe this whole session was organized just to change one person's life. What if it's you? Maybe it's not about everybody else, but it's about you. Maybe it's a business idea that you have. Look, there's nothing wrong with starting a business when you're in high school. There's nothing wrong with that. Nigel wrote his first book at 19. I started my first business at 19. But guess what? It failed. Did I give up? But I'm here. Do you know why it failed? That was not my calling. That was not my calling. So why am I sharing this with you? Maybe you're doing something that is not working out. There are two ways about it. Only two. The first one, you are not quitting, eh? You are just finding your calling. If you can't find what your calling is, then you keep on trying until you get it right. It might not be your calling, but you can make it your calling as well. So it's about two things. You choose. Do you really want this thing that bad to make it your call? Right? Who knew that I can get paid to talk? Like just talking. I mean, you guys talk, right? But this puts money in my account. And to some of you, it actually takes money out because you need to buy the airtime. I'm not bragging, but I'm just talking to you about what my calling is about. So if I continue to strive in transporting people, transporting goods, thinking that that's where money is, look, I would have lost it. That doesn't mean I don't drive. I still drive, but I don't drive for a living. I talk for a living. I write for a living. Does it make sense? So who says they find their calling? Who really wants to lie to me and say, I found my calling? It's okay. When are we going to celebrate you? That's when we know that you found your calling. If your call hasn't been celebrated yet, then you should know that you're actually lying to yourself, not to me. Think about it. I've been speaking, I think, for almost 10, 15 minutes, right? But I haven't looked in anything except that quote that I did. That's a sign that I was called to do this, right? How many can do that? Very few. So you need to understand your calling. Leave the public speaking to those who do it well and learn your own craft. So don't leave this room and be like, wow, that guy was talking and like, you know what, it was just simple. This guy was just uttering words from his mouth. That's good because it's me. That's what I was called for. That's my God-given gift. But that's not your gift. Maybe you were born to pay. Do you know there are people who get paid just for opening their mouth and just saying, ah. There are people who get paid for that. There are people who get paid for just playing drums. They don't do a lot. Just playing drums. So you need to understand what is it that you're called to do. And you know what? Maybe you know how to cook. Maybe you know how to cook. If you could pursue that, maybe you could actually make more money. Look, I've got nothing against education, but what I want you to know is anything in the world that is done by two people, an educated person and a non-educated person. Yeah, chances are, because of grace nowadays, you know, the non-educated one might do it better, but when it comes to quality and proper execution, education will play a big role. Which is why I'll still say, up to today, I'm still studying as well. I'm not done. So, if you're sitting there and you're like, this guy is saying, find your passion, follow your dreams, and still focus on education. I tell Nigel the same thing every day. No matter how much money you might make from selling books, you still need to understand that there is another level that education can take you. Did you know that there are conversations that people can have that can make you feel out of place just because they're educated? You know what I'm saying? Think about it. Who's been to a pedagogical sector? Who's been there? You've all been there. It's an educational sector. You've all been to school. But just because you don't know what that word means, does it make sense? So that's what I'm trying to say. If you don't understand that education can take you far. I'm not saying talent won't take you far. Even a football player, I'll tell you, I'm very good friends with Kama, right? I actually chat with Kama almost every day, but here's one thing I love about him. And as much as playing football, he's still studying as well. So it doesn't mean just because you're playing. Did you know that people sit in rooms and actually have a whole session of learning how to play soccer? Did you know that? So it's not just about talent. Talent with education takes you further than just talent alone. As much as you might be a professional musician, think about any career in the world. There's no way you cannot learn from education. Because if you run a business, because this was my mindset when I finished high school. I was like, you know what? Screw this university stuff. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go run a business, baby. I'm going to make money. And you know what I was even telling myself? I'm going to have a lot of chicks around me. But guess what? The whole ball game changed. When I came to understand that when you have money, you actually have more stress. Trust me. Only if you don't know how to manage it. That's the part I wanted to get it. But how do you know how to manage the money? It's through education. Because you can't just wake up and know what is 1 + 1. You need to go and learn that somewhere. It's fine. I know there's a guy sitting there. He's like, dude, we learn from our friends. We learn from experience. Learning from experience is good, but you could have done it better and executed it by learning from education. So, I mean, how many from this room are going to promise me one thing? That we're going to put more effort in becoming more educated than we are today? Just raise your hand. No, but you got a minute, because I'm not going to be there to monitor you. The courage you had to lift up your hand is the same courage I want you to have in thinking about what does success mean to you, and in thinking about what really is success for me. Think about your family for a second. What is that one thing that they haven't done that you can do? Because one thing you should know about families is that you can never have a family that has 4 people who do one thing. It's impossible. Very impossible. So if you haven't found your calling, you're actually robbing us, because we need to benefit from you. I mean, I read this book in the morning. We had an early reading session and I enjoyed it. Of course, I've read it before, but I enjoyed it. Why? Because it's now a hard copy. It's a book. And he took the time and the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to challenge myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And that's the same courage you need to have this morning. Maybe you are married, my brother. Maybe you've got a kid already. There's nothing wrong with going to the drawing board and saying, look, I know I'm actually an engineer, but that's not what I'm called for. Taking risks is good, but just take calculated risks. Tell the person next to you, take calculated risks. No, tell them again. Let's go to the other one that you don't like the same way. Yeah, because you know what is the problem? People listen to motivational speakers online. People go to events hoping to come there inspire. Have you ever really listened to a motivational speaker like when you are down and you like trying to get something? I see this guy at the gym every time. This guy will be having headphones listening to those inspirational, motivational workout sessions. And he's going to be lifting weights. He's like, yes, I can do this. You can see this guy is really serious. He's motivated, right? But if you apply the same thing in your life and you stay motivated in the right direction, because you know what, you can stay motivated trying to cook when you burn pots every day. I burn popcorns, guys. Like, I can't even pop popcorns. That's how bad my cooking is. But if you ask me to talk, look, you were laughing just now. And you've been nodding your heads, meaning I've been talking sense. So if I try to pursue cooking, my life is not going to mean anything. That's one thing I want you to understand. So it's a matter of understanding, what was I called for on this planet? And when you understand what were you called for on this planet, you need to live that. Make that dream come into reality. There are a lot of people whose lives are waiting to be transformed. There are a lot of people whose lives are waiting to be changed by that little thing that you're going to do. Maybe it's just assisting someone. Because you know one problem, and I like this part, one problem that I've realized about people is they don't understand the concept of servanthood. Maybe your call is to serve someone to be able to unleash their call, right? Maybe your duty is to move with a person who talks and just be able to write for them what are they going to talk about. But the problem with us people in general is that we feel like it's being downgraded to go and assist someone to make their dream come true. But you know what? Maybe you're going to push your life, all your life you're going to continue trying and you won't make it. Why? Because you're not realizing that that's what you're supposed to do. Think about this. If everybody was an author, who was going to read the books? Fine, let's talk about business. If everybody was selling tomatoes, who was going to buy tomatoes? So that's all I'm talking about. In as much as you want to make a difference, it's okay to make a difference. But also, don't feel bad that Nigel did this at 19. Maybe your time to bloom as a flower is going to come when you're 30. There's nothing wrong. I mean, if you buy a house when you're 70, it's not a house. Exactly my point. If you write a book at 42, it's a book. It doesn't change. It doesn't become a paragraph. So don't focus on timelines that were set by people. I've watched a video one day where somebody, just hear this, somebody like you created a personal timeline and said, you have to go to school between the age of this and this and this. And I asked myself, okay, most of the things he spoke about, I've done it, but did I do it at the same age? No. Did it change who I am? No. Did it change the value of what I did? Because when people buy books, they don't ask, how old were you when you wrote this book? They just buy. I'm talking from experience. I've published 3 books now, not 2, 3. I'm actually launching the 3rd one in a month from now or 2. But that doesn't mean because I did it when I was not 19, it's not going to be done. I was a CEO of a company when I was 19, but how many employees did that company have? 9, fine. But those 9 employees, were they really enough to make me a chief executive officer? No. That's the problem with a lot of young people who start businesses. The reason why they don't grow is because you are calling yourself a chief executive officer, meaning, because when you talk about chief executive officer, that means there's a board of directors that you also go and report to, right? So when you meet a person who wants to help aspiring entrepreneurs or aspiring business people, when they see chief executive officer, they see you in the same league with them. And they're like, I don't need to help this person because we are together. So sometimes we don't make it. We don't live life making it all about success because of the titles we give ourselves. Does it make sense? Think about the places you've gone to. Think about how do people address you? How do you tell people to address you? At times you hear people will be like, nah, please don't call me with my name. Call me Mr. So-and-so. Call me Dr. So-and-so. But have you acquired that title? Have you gotten to a point where you deserve it? Have you ever heard about a saying that says, let your success speak for you? This is what success does. It speaks for you. When people look at this, they don't ask him, did you write a book? Of course, some black people who are rhetorical will ask, but most of the people who really understand what success is won't ask if somebody wrote a book when they have a book that is there. So my call this afternoon is just to call you back to order. Say, come back to order to a person next to you. But what is order? It's a point where you redefine yourself if you haven't done that. Yeah, it's fine if you've done that. It's okay. We're hoping to come to celebrate your event with whatever that you're doing. But understand that sometimes there's nothing wrong with admitting that, you know what, it's fine, I'm very old or I'm very young. Maybe I'm too old than the person telling me, or I'm too young than the person telling me. But there's nothing wrong with taking advice. Maybe go back to a drawing board and ask yourself, what do I want to achieve? Small dreams matter too. You can buy a Lamborghini. But if you start small as well, you can just wake up and be like, let's be realistic. Is it normal to work for 5 years saving money to buy a Lamborghini? Do you think it's normal to walk? It doesn't make sense. Where did you learn to drive? Do you understand my point now? Because you're just going to buy the Lamborghini and the first thing you're going to do after buying it is take it for repairs. That is why we're saying small dreams matter too. Start from a bicycle. It's okay. And when you know how to do that well, you can buy a scooter. And then you can go to a Harley Davidson. Because the value is different. You can as well buy a Mini Cooper. You can buy a Golf City. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean if you buy a Golf City first, you're not going to be able to drive a Lamborghini. But that's actually a show of progress. Because this is why you see when people start just from nowhere, a guy owns a Lamborghini. Like the guys who steal money. I'm sure you guys see this on social media. I remember I read about a lady who stole money from where they were working and they bought themselves a Lamborghini. Do you really think people are stupid not notice? But if you start small and you show us the growth pattern, we have a track record to go back to. Which is why I said it's okay to start your event not on time. You go back and say, you know what? This time I'm going to do it on time. I always tell people that there's nothing called black people are not on time. It doesn't exist. There is nothing like that. And you know what I said to Nigel this morning? Before we came here, because of my experience, I actually said, you know what, let me share this with him because this thing will affect you a lot if you've got an event. So when I launched my second book, I was known in the city to a point whereby when I go on radio, you could get maybe 45, 50 people calling in. That's being known. If people can be willing to spend their airtime just to call because you're on air, that's good, right? But guess what? When I launched the books months after this experience, I thought I'm going to have a tremendous audience. But guess what happened? I booked a venue taking 250 people only to house 49 people, including my crew. But I learned one thing on that day, and that thing has made me the person I am today. See that smile there? It comes from that place of understanding that it's not about having a big crowd. It's about having the right crowd.
Yeah, definitely.
Because if you fill this room with people who don't understand what we're doing here, they're going to make noise and we're going to have a problem of calling people to order, which is not why we're here. That means the event is going to actually run late. But if we understand what it is that we want to achieve and we allow those who are part of the vision to be there for us, then it makes the whole process easy. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So there's simple things in life that we overlook that actually bring the whole difference in what we do. I know I've said a lot, but what I know is I've touched somebody's life. That's one thing I can guarantee you. God has given me grace to stand in front of people and not live without inspiring a person. That's just something I can't or you can't deny. And it's okay if it's not you. But don't mess it up for the next person. Say to the next person next to you, don't mess this up for the other person. No, say it like you mean it, because they're going to mess it up for the person. And you know what's funny? There are people who are already saying, this event has been going on for long. Somebody's saying it's late. It's okay. It's his event. It's not yours. So why are you complaining? What have you done? Because this is the question I ask people who complain a lot. I always ask, why haven't we celebrated you? That's the question. The moment you want to mum about something, just ask yourself, why haven't I been celebrated the same way we are going to celebrate that person? So I'm proud to stand here speaking about Nigel's book and talking about selling this book, not giving it for free. And hey, if you're going to get this book for free, just be 100% sure that you are a failure, because you failed to write the book and you failed to pay for it. I don't understand, how does it work? Because we live in a world where people want free things. There are people, let me tell you this, there are people who took pictures of what is inside that book who are going to read at home later. But it's, how much are we selling the book for? 100 Rand. It's only 100 Rand. Yet they spend more than 1,000 on airtime. I won't say in what time frame. I mean, because one of the things that people love doing is sending emojis and, oh my gosh. There's nothing wrong with that. But let's appreciate the time people put in hustles. Just think about it. You spend the whole night cooking fat cakes and you're like, you know what? I want to sell them. I need to go pay my school fees. And then the next thing that happens is everybody just passes through your bucket, just picking them and going, picking and going. How would you feel? It wouldn't be a good thing, right? That's the same way Nigel is going to feel when you leave this place without buying a book. We're just going to think you are the one who took pictures. Why would you buy it if you have the pictures? Does it make sense? So this is why I'm encouraging you. Buy the book. Save yourself the embarrassment. Just think about it when you're walking out and people start talking about you. Now, like imagine if we really have to go through people's phones to check for pictures. That would be crazy. But now, let me close, because I know talking is something I can do. And I can do it so well. I mean, you guys are laughing, so it's proof. And I just want to ask you nicely. Do yourself a favor. Do your mother a favor. Do your grandfather. Do your generation a favor. Be the first person to make a difference and go to an event. Buy a book. Buy two. Does it make sense? Are you going to buy a book? Really? Are you? I would appreciate it if you do. I would really appreciate it if you do. In closing, I want to give you 4 nuggets. No, it's 5, sorry. The first one is an N. Never give up.
Yeah.
We've been through situations like I explained. There are points where I got, and you know what? I thought I was really down and out. I really thought I was down and out. I never thought I could make it from that point. But because of God's grace, the fact that He knows His plans for me made me to keep on going and knowing that, you know what, there is something for me. And after an N, you've got an I. That's an I for integrity. In everything you do, have integrity. Understand that integrity helps you to be connected to the right people. And when you're connected to the right people, you need to be inspired to do the right things. There are people who get connected to people and not understand why are you connected to the person. So not everybody you meet needs you to speak to them the same time you meet them. Because this is one of the mistakes people make. You get a contact number of an influential person that you need for a certain project. The project is still in your head. You haven't put it on the ground. And you already bother that question with the person with a lot of questions. Hi, what do I need to do about ABC? Okay, you're gonna bore me to a point where I actually don't want to talk to you anymore, and you can't get my help. So not everybody you meet, especially boys and girls, listen to this one. Not everybody you meet is supposed to be a part of your sexual or love life. Because the problem with us young people is, if I'm a guy and I meet a lady, The only thing that comes to my mind is she wants me or I want her. Am I lying? So I'm trying to encourage you to say there's nothing wrong with relationships, but relationships that are done for the right reasons will help you to be a better person. Because if you tell me that you're in high school and you're dating and you know why you are dating, it's okay. There are people who get married afterwards. But is that really what you really need at this point in time? Because I feel like if you haven't achieved something in your life that has really brought people together to celebrate it, then you haven't done enough for your life. So put aside relationships, put aside bad friends, put aside negativity, and focus on what is important and find a way to make a difference. So I'm not saying don't be in relationships. Hey, I'm not going to lie to you like what other people do and say, I've never dated. I've done it. But I ended up realizing it was a waste of my time. I mean, if I was to take back the money I spent on Valentine gifts when I was in high school, wow. Okay, Valentine's Day, we forget it. Think about the birthday of the person you would be dating. Who forgets that? I mean, Valentine, you could come up with an excuse. No, it's not a leap year. If you're a girl, you could say it's not a leap year, so I'm not going to buy for you as a guy. And that's okay. But who forgets the birthday of their partner? It's difficult, right? And there are partners who want gifts for Christmas and New Year and Easter. So if you think about how much you're going to spend in a relationship if you are not at a position where you can sustain it. I always tell young people, because I speak at schools and a lot of times I have to face this. Because when you go to that school, the principal or someone will be like, please speak to these kids about relationships. We're having problems. People are dating each other and each other's partners as well. And the problem that we have, it takes us away from the core vision of achieving our goals in life. It takes us away from understanding what is our calling in life. So my focus now, while I'm on that A of being inspired, be inspired to do the right things. I spoke about an N, never give up. I spoke about an I, have integrity and inspiration. Understand what your source of inspiration is. I mean, you can't go and look for inspiration to be a writer from a soccer player. Comrades, balance, ayikho. So let's talk about a G. May your life from today be centered on growth. If you focus your life on growth, there's nothing more that you're going to do than grow. So after a G, I want to give you an E. Aim to excel in everything that you do. Because if you put your target here and you miss and you hit here, you're not on the ground, you're close enough to getting to where you want to be.
That's right.
So set your levels and standards high. There's nothing wrong with setting high standards for yourself. It's okay. That's who you are. And one thing that you need to understand is if you aim here and you hit here, the other E I want to leave you with is embrace it. That's where you are. Embrace the current situation. Because the problem we make is you want to complain about what you didn't do. Have you appreciated the fact that you did something? So embrace the situation, even if it's not the exact result you were hoping for. Just embrace that and be able to be grateful and say, you know what, God, I want to thank you that I'm able to actually do this. Because there's a person who wanted to do something like this that couldn't do it. But I'm grateful that I did it. After an E, the last letter that I want to leave you with is an L. Learn. Learn. Because the problem we have is we've got people who know it all. That's why that guy sang and said, Mr. Know-it-all, Puma game. It's fine because you know what? When you want to know it all, you're actually robbing yourself. Just think about this. If everybody came in this room expecting to learn, everybody came expecting to learn, do you think we're going to have a problem of trying to tell each other that, hey, guys, we want to make it easy? Like, I'm talking about a school environment. You come to class and you really want to learn. Do you think there would be things like, can you have a list of noisemakers, Chair? You can't have that because everybody came understanding what they want to do. Does it make sense? And after you learn, you need to understand that you need to live. What am I talking about? It's not a good thing for you to put a plan. Put a 5-year plan for yourself. I want to do A, B, C, D. And you don't live. What am I talking about? Live. Have fun at the center of everything you do. If you have fun at what you do, trust me, you're going to appreciate yourself. In the morning when we were having our book talk, maybe some of you saw the photos that were taken. There's a photo that had to be taken while the photographer was on the ground. He did not even think about the value of the t-shirt he was wearing. He was wearing a polo t-shirt. But he did not think about that. What did he do? He went on the ground. He loves what he does, which is why he makes money with it. So the problem we have is we want to pay too much attention to ourselves instead of focusing on upgrading ourselves. So love what you do to a point where you have fun in doing it. I mean, guys, I have fun talking, which is why it's difficult for me to really be like I'm going. I know I said I'm closing a few minutes ago, but you see, I'm still here because I love talking. This is why I drove 600 Ks to be here to talk. So if you don't love what you do, you won't be able to make a difference in your life. Tell the person next to you, make a difference. And in closing, when you never give up while you have integrity and you inspire people and you aspire to grow with excellency, being able to understand that you need to empower other people as well, and you learn to love and to lead, you have Nigel. Thank you so much for being a beautiful audience.